Namaste. Good morning. Blessed New Year to those of you that honor this day as the first day of the year. I would also invite you all to reflect upon the numerology of yesterday 123, 123. This is a really powerful sequence of numbers that will carry us through this week. And I also was just sitting and reflecting on the little thumbnail that I created yesterday to share for New Year's Eve. And as I just found, sorry, my voice, I just found that this was really kind of powerful in that here we are at this Hanged Man card, and it just seemed to sit very powerfully in this. You can call it a portal, you can call it an energetic center of 123, 123. So you may want to, if this is your card for 2024, and welcome to 2024, oh my goodness, to focus on this number, to write this number at the top of your journal, to see the 12 in this 123, 123. Also today, acknowledging that we are in a number 10 day. So those who are born on the 1st of January, happy birthday. And today for everyone is a day of change. So energetically, there is a lot that is supporting this and working with this journey quite naturally. Good evening, Amelia. It is when I am, and it's interesting because I'm doing quite a bit of research for upcoming series, and what I tend to call the landscape of a reading is the background that we set, the preparation, the painting that we draw to increase our awareness and our focus in a reading. There are many interpretations of what landscape of a reading means as I'm continuing to learn. But this landscape is very special, very powerful. And so let's all just sit in this. Today is a 10, yesterday, and moving through this week, the energy of 123, 123. It's a really powerful place for us all to be. Good morning to Casey, Warrior Girl, and Ramon, Moon Scarab. Namaste. Happy New Year to all of you. I'm ready as well too. So let's talk a little bit about our theme card, and I'll also read you the poem for today, or part of it anyway. The Hanged Man, the Hanged One, Le Pendu, the Bat. And another card, rich with symbolism in every way, and rich with mythology. And there are many examples in mythology where one chose to assume this position for enlightenment or for the greater good. This card is deeply associated with Odin and the Odin's realization. It is associated with Christ. And if you go back through time, and I had to laugh, I was just reviewing Caitlin Matthews' Untold Story tarot book, and this was the way that wanted posters were drawn way back in the day. And I just I think this is an important card to look at each and every piece of the thread. And if this is your card for 2024, maybe pick up some of that Norse mythology And this goes through other cultures as well too. So I feel like this is really significant here. I would also strongly suggest, if you have never practiced inversions of any kind, this may be hanging your head, like bending over forward. This could be from a chair, if that just is overwhelming. This could be a practice of putting your legs up the wall every night before you go to bed. Inversions are very powerful physically. They move lymph in the body. The lymphatic system doesn't have a natural pump system to it, and it requires physical movement. That's one of the reasons why something like sun salutations, a gentle flow practice, is so vitalizing, because it moves the lymph tissue, the fluid. And this is really important for our immune system. And so sometimes when I look at this card, maybe not as a theme for the whole year, but in a reading, I'm thinking, okay, this querent would really benefit from some sort of recommendation for boosting their lymphatic system. Is something going on with your immune system? And that's interesting as well too, because this card can it can feel like a death in a way. So, well, let's get into all of that, but I'm going to start by reading Lloyd Haglin's poem, or the first part of it. I'm going to try to avoid, in this book, reading the lines that are uniquely associated with the artwork in the Voyager Tarot. So it's more of a universal reading. Hanged Man waits and waits and waits for the answer to come to him. Hanged Man is Odin, upside down waiting, seeing all from a new perspective. Hanged Man is Jesus, being a new way of seeing. Jesus being new so we could grow too. Hanged Man is a reflection of ourselves in the darkness of our shadow, seeing in a palm held shell our true face, seeing in a palm held shell our true face. Hanged Man is the fish waiting for the heron to strike. Hanged Man is the target ring suspended as we are drawn by the swirling tar. When the Hanged Man drops into your life, you have potential building and all could come. You are most at odds with patience and her friends, trust, love, and faith. You are most at odds with patience and her friends, trust, love, and faith. How true is that? Let's go back to that invitation to put your legs up the wall every night. When I cue this kind of a posture in a yoga class, whether it's online or in a studio, there's an impatience. Okay, really, do we have to hang here any longer? Or if there is another inversion, people get really comfortable in inversions. Of course, it can be really uncomfortable because blood rushes to the head if you're not used to doing this. And so you would need to take it back in baby steps and maybe do it for 30 seconds or a minute and build up your endurance. But there's something really powerful and inviting to this. Patience. This is not a year to rush through in any stretch of the imagination. It is not. We see, so let's talk a little bit about what the energy of this card offers, and why this idea of suspension. I'll also talk a little bit about what what is potentially sacrificed here, because that is one of the keywords for this card. In the central card, M.M. Moline's Tabula Mundi, is the eye of Odin at the bottom of the well, looking back up at the crown of the Hanged Man. And this idea of missing one eye, only seeing through one eye, this, you can also look at other cards that might come up in terms of eyes being covered. I'm thinking of the Marielle. There's one card with a bronze coin on one eye and a silver coin on the other. I think part of the lesson here in this year is marrying your outward and inward reflection. Learning to trust that inward reflection and taking time and having patience with your inward reflection. The bat can see at night, and I think that is just something to hold on to. The bat can see through the darkness. The bat curiously explores the darkness. The darkness also takes us into the energy of the great ocean and the great mother. This is a card of primordial water, and in the Golden Dawn system there are 4 cards, one each, that represents the primordial elements, and this is an initiation or a transformation through water. There are, of course, correspondences to Neptune as well here, and another piece about that, now my familiarity with this mythology is a little rough, but Saturn, I believe the story goes, Saturn ate his children, and they were in the belly of Saturn. I think Jupiter freed his brother Neptune, is how the story goes. But part of this also makes me think about the idea of Moby Dick. And it makes me think about, you can go really contemporary with the Pinocchio story, being inside the whale, and that idea of being in the darkness and how terrifying that can be, but also what we learn and what is revealed once we are released. Why we might even enter into such a journey. Why would we venture out into a stormy sea when we know how dangerous it is? And so this is a card about committing to, this is so very different than the hermit, or it's like we invite stillness rather than movement into our life. How can you cultivate stillness this year? I've often talked on my channel about practices of silence, Mona. This might be another bit of magic that could really help this year, is to adopt a practice of silence. This might be something that you do, Sundays from 4 p.m. until I get up for work on Mondays is my time of silence. There's no digital connection. My family is fully aware that I'm not talking, I'm not passing notes. This could be a time for reading sacred texts or meditation, long, slow walks. There's something about silence that is really transforming. Great things can come through practices of silence, and I think that is very much in alignment with the Hanged Man. If you are working to really feel this energy this year. You can contrast this card with the World. Very similar shape, where you get this idea of dancing through a portal. And here, the Hanged Man in an opposite shape is saying, I'm not ready. I need to grow through something. And there's this idea of growth as well here. Sometimes the hair of the Hanged Man is, you can view this as roots that are growing into the soil. So there's a learning experience that is important and in progress here. So don't miss out on that as well. That halo that we and in the Wild Unknown card, you see the light, how the darkness is at the feet and the light is at the head. There's a lot to be gleaned, learned here. So take time for that. Now, time is a funny thing. And if we could find a synonym, make space. Make space for your aloneness. Make space for your solitude and your cultivation of mental clarity. The clarity that comes with the integration of the internal and the external focus. Surrender can be a really hard word for some people. Relax. Hate that word myself. I adopted the word allow many years ago. Allow this energy to move through me. Allow my heart to slow as I find myself suspended in this upside down posture. Allow my breath to ease and find its way into synchronicity as I sit here in terror. Allow me to find trust. This is your invitation in some way to find your surrender word. Let go is another one that's really difficult for people. Well, how am I supposed to let go? What does that even mean? And I think in little baby steps, symbolically, you could have 365 little tiny pieces that you let go of this year. For some reason, I'm thinking of toothpicks, something really tiny. And you have 365 toothpicks. And maybe you have this tiny little, really fine pen. And on each of those 300, sorry, this is a random thought. I don't know if this resonates with anybody, but on these little tiny toothpicks, you write a word or you intend a thought. And maybe today you make a list of 365 things that I could let go of. Like, wow, that might seem overwhelming, but I bet you could find them. I bet you could find them. And you could use synonyms. Haste is a word that comes to mind. So maybe haste is one thing that you could release in 2024. This is big. And the idea of the water, can we go back to that? Primordial water, purification through water. I think this, connecting with this element as well, might be very useful. So sometimes if we are practicing, we choose practices that connect us, or just lifestyle practices that connect us with the honoring of water. When you turn on the water to brush your teeth, thank the water for flowing from the tap. There's lots of ways we can honor water in a very mundane way, but there's that element it's important here. The bat has his wings enclosed around his body. The figure in the center is without clothes, and the figure on the right is clothed. And so your what I'm thinking here is your comfort level with exposure, vulnerability may also be in question. Um, Playing with your comfort of vulnerability. So that's something that just thinking about here. The eyes of the bat, seeing in the darkness. Maybe this is about shifting your walk. I mean, this won't work in the summer, but later, so that you practice walking in the dark. I'm fortunate that I live somewhere where there's no streetlights. So if I want to walk in the dark, I really can. And it is, sometimes it's quite unnerving, but other times it feels very peaceful. Okay, I'm going to shuffle the cards for you. I'm just going to get the link for part 2 while I think about it. Sadhana. So if you're not aware, I'm doing a part 1 and a part 2 of each of these readings. And I'm really enjoying this process of taking my time and going deep and as long as I need to go. So just bear with me 1 second before I get your cards here. That is part 2. Okay. I know sometimes it's hard to find members' videos, so I'm just going to do that and then I'll share that after. Okay. So these are the cards expanding on all of the thoughts and considerations that have already come through. As always, we ask these messages be in the highest for the greatest good and that no harm be done. So be it. Okay, I'm going to start with Saturn and go around Saturn, Jupiter. Wow, how appropriate is that? We do have some repeating cards. I will endeavor to make a movie make a recording or a live stream when we're all done about the cards that came up again and again. 9 of Swords came up yesterday. That's the only. Oh no, this one. I think this one's come up twice. The 9 of Wands. So 2 9s in your reading. This is Father of Swords is in the Jupiter position. Look at how that sword is illuminated. And if you look at the Hanged Man in any number of cards and the halo around the head of the Hanged Man, that idea of the luminosity, the clarity of mind, the expansion of mind, truth, perhaps. And I said, well, what are you sacrificing? I think one of the greatest sacrifices of dedicating a year to this card is perhaps in community, or in taking that time from 4 p.m. to the time you go to work on Monday morning, like Sunday, like finding your gap of time for silence. And you're sacrificing it for wisdom. You're sacrificing something for clarity, for greater knowledge. And that's kind of a perfect card for Jupiter. You know, what you are expanding and what is growing is your ownership of your truth. On the Saturn position, we have that Two of Swords. And this card, I love the eclipse energy there. I think that's really powerful. And that two swords, two minds, two eyes, one looking out, one looking in, finding, providing yourself with adequate restriction so that you can find that harmony of mind. One thing I didn't talk about was the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man in the Tarot de Marseille, Waite Smith, I believe Waite Smith as well too. You see the two branches on either side. And so there's this idea of being between something and the one. The idea of Hanged Man is 12 and the second number being a 2. These numbers can be significant in readings. So if you're doing daily or weekly draws or monthly draws or a year ahead reading, have a look at, pay attention to the 2s as well. So what is overhead is your truth and your seeking of clarity. And then what is down below? The nightmare, quite literally in the moon position. The Son of Wands. And that may very well be your nemesis, as was suggested in the poem. The Son of Wands in the Mercury position it's your discomfort, your lack of patience with all of this. And in the Earth position, we have a card, the Knight of Wands, that invites patience and deep reflection. Reflection is going to be really, really important. What is on either side in the Mars and the Mercury, Mars and Venus. So I like to look at these two cards in contrast with one another. In the Venus position is the Four of Swords, that card where we indeed take time to heal through. Often there's this idea of sacred space in that card. Finding your inner temple, finding a safe and quiet place where you can heal and rest and restore. And I'm seeing that Mars card as the discipline to do so. Okay. If you'd like to go a little deeper with me, here is the link to part 2. And I will see you very soon. I'll be back tomorrow with the reading for death. And I feel something very passionate emerging for you this year. Giving yourself the gift of the space and time could really bust something open. So maybe think about that list of 365 little things. Okay? Take good care. Namaste.